Welcome to Liberation Lens, where stories unfold beyond the headlines and perspective truly matters. History isn't finished, it's unfolding. This is Liberation Lens. Perspective matters.
People are asking this very important question. Is Benjamin Netanyahu, the Israeli Prime Minister, speaking the language of annihilation? Let's think this together as we review what he has said, that might have implications beyond what he probably was thinking when he said them. This is Liberation Lens. Perspective matters. Some suggest there is strong evidence that Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has used language that many analysts and observers interpret as annihilationist or genocidal in tone, particularly in the context of the war in Gaza. Here are some examples of Netanyahu's rhetoric. In a biblical reference to Amalek in an official video statement on October 28, 2023, during a press conference in Tel Aviv, Netanyahu said, I quote, "You must remember what Amalek has done to you, says our Holy Bible. We do remember." Here is the context. The biblical command regarding Amalek is on 1 Samuel 15:3. This is what it reads. Now go, attack the Amalekites and totally destroy all that belongs to them. Do not spare them. Put to death men and women, children and infants, cattle and sheep, camels and donkeys. You see that? It is a divine command given to King Saul through the prophet Samuel. It's part of a dramatic and morally complex episode in the Hebrew Bible, where Saul is ordered to enact total judgment on the Amalekites for their past aggression against Israel. That same phrase from Netanyahu draws from Deuteronomy 25:17-19. Based on the English Standard Version, though wording may differ slightly by translation, it reads as follows. Remember what Amalek did to you on the way as you came out of Egypt. How he attacked you on the way, when you were faint and weary, and cut off your tail, those who were lagging behind you, and he did not fear God. Therefore, when the Lord your God has given you rest from all your enemies around you, in the land that the Lord your God is giving you for an inheritance to possess, you shall blot out the memory of Amalek from under heaven. You shall not forget. Now, while both passages and the quote by Netanyahu refer to Amalek, Deuteronomy 25:17-19 focuses on remembering the wrongdoing, whereas 1 Samuel 15:3 portrays the execution of divine judgment. Do you see here a reenactment of the Bible message on Gaza? Whatever the case, Netanyahu's use of this reference stirred significant international discussion, due to its historical and symbolic weight. How then is this being interpreted? Many scholars and human rights observers see this as a coded call for total annihilation, especially when applied to a modern civilian population. Following the surprise and deadly attack by Hamas militants on Israel on October 7, Netanyahu declared the following in a televised address. We will destroy them, and we will forcefully avenge this dark day that they have forced on the state of Israel and its citizens. He also said, all of the places which Hamas is deployed, hiding and operating in, that wicked city, we will turn them into rubble. I say to the residents of Gaza, leave now because we will operate forcefully everywhere. What are the criticism to these assertions of the Prime Minister? Some say, Gaza is under blockade, and civilians have no safe place to flee. Thus, his statement has been interpreted as a threat of indiscriminate destruction. In a post on X, formerly Twitter, on October 16, 2023, quoting from a speech he gave in the Winter Assembly of the 25th Knesset's second session, Netanyahu referred to Palestinians as children of darkness, contrasting them with Israelis as children of light. This kind of moral dualism is often used to justify extreme violence by dehumanizing the enemy. Why do such declarations of Prime Minister Netanyahu matter? They matter because words, especially from a head of state in wartime, can shape the course of events as much as any missile or mandate. When a leader like Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu invokes phrases like children of darkness or references to Amalek, he isn't just making rhetorical flourishes. He's tapping into centuries of religious, historical, and cultural symbolism that resonate deeply with his supporters but alarming to his critics. Here's why his declarations have had global impact. First, let's look at the symbolism and historical weight of such declarations. Biblical allusions like Amalek connect modern conflicts to ancient enmities, framing them in existential or even theological terms. These references can inspire solidarity or resolve among Israelis, but may also be interpreted as calls for absolute or unconditional war by others. Secondly, his declarations have implications on international repercussions. Statements such as "we will turn them into rubble" or "forcefully avenge this dark day" have diplomatic consequences. They affect how allies and global institutions view Israel's actions. Human rights groups and foreign governments often analyze such language to assess intent, especially in relation to civilian populations and rules of war. Thirdly, they have escalation and dehumanization implications. Referring to adversaries as children of darkness risks dehumanizing language, which can inflame tensions and justify disproportionate responses. Critics argue that this can blur the line between targeting militants and targeting populations, increasing civilian suffering and prolonging conflict. Fourthly, his declarations have implications on his political and strategic messaging. Netanyahu's words serve domestic purposes too, rallying his base, projecting strength, and uniting a country under siege. But they can also limit diplomatic options and escalate military commitments, binding Israel's leadership to follow through with hardline policies. In times of war, rhetoric isn't just a reflection of reality. It helps create it. These declarations not only express resolve but also shape how wars are fought and remembered. And here's how Netanyahu's wartime rhetoric has landed across different audiences. Among Israeli citizens, his rhetoric has received mixed reactions. Some Israelis view Netanyahu's biblical and militaristic language as a rallying cry for national unity and survival. His references to Amalek and children of light resonate with religious and nationalist segments. There is, however, criticism from within. Others, including journalists and public figures, have pushed back. For example, Israeli media analyst Orly Noy noted that mainstream outlets often amplify government messaging while downplaying Palestinian suffering, shaping a public more inclined to support war. Some Israelis have decried the suppression of dissent. Some Israeli civil society groups have accused media outlets of promoting rhetoric that borders on incitement, including calls that could be interpreted as encouraging war crimes. From the Palestinian side, there is deep outrage and fear. Netanyahu's language, especially terms like children of darkness and threats to turn Gaza into rubble, has been widely seen as dehumanizing and genocidal by Palestinians and their advocates. They decry the fact that Palestinian suffering is often underrepresented in Israeli media, which reinforces a one-sided narrative. This has led to accusations that the Israeli public is being shielded from the humanitarian toll of the war on Gaza. Besides, Netanyahu has rejected the Palestinian Authority as a post-war governing body in Gaza. This has been interpreted as a move to undermine Palestinian self-determination, further alienating moderate voices. So, what are voices among international observers saying? There is global skepticism at the moment. Many international analysts and media outlets have grown increasingly critical. As part of France 24's press review episode aired on March 20, 2025, hosted by journalist Leo McGinn, the conclusion is that the world is no longer buying Netanyahu's rhetoric, especially as civilian casualties mount. There is also mounting diplomatic tension. While some allies, like the US under Trump, have supported Israel's military actions, others have expressed concern that Netanyahu's language escalates conflict and undermines peace efforts. Is it then possible, at this stage, based on historical precedents, to conclude that there is an ongoing genocide in Gaza? Yes. There is indeed a well-established historical and legal framework for identifying genocidal or annihilationist rhetoric. Many observers have argued that some statements by Israeli officials, including Prime Minister Netanyahu, align with or echo this framework. Let's break it down. Within the legal and historical framework, the concept of genocide was codified in the 1948 UN Genocide Convention. This defines genocide as acts committed with intent to destroy, in whole or in part, a national, ethnic, racial or religious group. This includes killing members of the group, causing serious bodily or mental harm, deliberately inflicting conditions of life calculated to bring about its destruction, imposing measures to prevent births, forcibly transferring children, etc. Importantly, intent is central. Courts often infer intent through patterns of speech and behavior, especially when leaders use dehumanizing or eliminationist language. Regarding holding rhetoric as evidence of intent, scholars and legal experts have long emphasized that strategic rhetoric is a key indicator of genocidal intent. For example, the Harvard Political Review notes that in both historical and modern genocides, leaders have used rhetorical strategies to justify or normalize mass violence. A Times of Israel report from January 2024 highlighted how South Africa's legal team at the International Court of Justice, ICJ, presented Netanyahu's references to Amalek, a biblical enemy marked for total destruction, as part of a broader pattern of genocidal rhetoric. The Middle East Monitor and the New Arab have documented statements by Israeli officials such as Defense Minister Yoav Gallant, referring to Palestinians as human animals, and others calling for a second Nakba or the complete destruction of Gaza. How, therefore, does Netanyahu's language fit? Some of Netanyahu's statements, as already indicated, like invoking Amalek, calling the conflict a battle between children of light and children of darkness, and pledging to turn Gaza into rubble, have been cited by legal scholars and human rights advocates as potentially annihilationist in tone. These statements are seen by critics as dehumanizing. That is, framing an entire population as evil or subhuman. The statements are considered totalizing. This suggests that no distinction exists between combatants and civilians. They are biblically charged. They invoke religious narratives that historically justified total destruction. Consequently, the International Court of Justice has taken such rhetoric seriously in its hearings on South Africa's genocide case against Israel. Besides, a growing number of legal scholars argue that language alone, when paired with military actions and humanitarian consequences, can support a claim of genocidal intent. Is there an ongoing genocide in Gaza? Let's have your thoughts in the comment section.
You have just seen the world through a different lens. Subscribe, comment, share, and help amplify voices that deserve to be heard. Until next time, keep looking deeper. Liberation lens. Perspective matters.